All right, people, good afternoon. Now we're going to do the second half of our look at Zach Charbonnet by looking at what he brings to the table as a player. We've seen the numbers and they're really impressive, but how are those numbers going to translate to value on the field for the Seahawks? Again, the numbers tell you what he's done. This will hopefully tell you what he's going to do. So, Zach Charbonnet, he's big and strong. Not one of the bigger running backs we've seen, but remember, the percentiles that we looked at earlier include fullbacks in some cases and much bigger halfbacks who are a lot slower, especially from older eras when that was a little more valuable maybe. So he's big and strong for this era of football as a pure running back. He's got a powerful build that creates much of his appeal as a player. He's an excellent pass catcher out of the backfield with reliable hands. Again, only a few drops over his career. And the last 2 years, UCLA used him as a receiver a lot. He has great vision as a running back, great running back vision with patience to wait for blocks, to develop before going. He's somebody who you frequently see just kind of waiting for the play to develop, and then he just goes. He knows where the hole's going to be, and then he just hits it when it's there. Once he gets going, he runs very violently, which is how he blows through so many tackles. You try to arm tackle him, you try to bring him down as a smaller guy. Good luck. It's going to be hard. Once he gets going, he's a very violent runner, and he can push through softer tackles with no problem. He has probably the best contact balance of any running back in this class. If he gets hit, he's going to do a phenomenal job of staying up. There are a lot of plays you can find of him on YouTube. He's a pretty popular player on YouTube because he is fun to watch, where he's running along the sideline and a defender comes in trying to knock him out of bounds, and the dude hits him, and somehow Charbonnet is still going. He doesn't go out of bounds. It's weird. It's freaky sometimes. But he can take hits and contact without going down with the best of them, like I wrote. He's very smart with how he sets things up with his runs. He's not super elusive or anything like that. He's not going to do the Barry Sanders stuff, but he sees where the play is going. He sees where his blockers are going, and then he turns that into making defenders miss by setting them up to where they're not going to be able to bring him down because he's going to a place where they're not going to be ready for him. He's very smart with how he runs. The cuts he makes are very decisive, and he sets things up brilliantly to get extra yards. He doesn't have great top-end speed, but he has very strong acceleration, kind of like JSN. He can get up to his top speed fast. It won't be outrunning a lot of defensive backs, but it'll allow him to get through the hole quickly and get positive yards on most plays. Only 2 fumbles, so he's a secure ball carrier, like we said before. He's, I believe, and this is something we're going to have to get into later because I was watching some of Charbonnet's tape from a few games. And the thing that kind of stood out to me, there are a lot of snaps where he's the running back on play action. And when he doesn't get the ball, there's oftentimes an unaccounted for defender right in front of him, and he just starts blocking him because he's unaccounted for and he wants to keep DTR clean, and therefore, I got to block him. I don't have the ball. The quarterback has the ball, so I'm going to go block him. I don't think PFF counts those plays as pass blocking snaps. I think they look at it to be pass blocking when the running back hangs in the backfield to pick up a blitzer. So I think those plays, which are pass protection plays, are not counted by PFF as pass protection plays. That's how I suspect PFF is doing it. So I do think he's actually pretty reliable as a pass protector in picking up blitzes and shipping. I don't think it's going to be a big problem for him. I think PFF kind of sold him short there, personally. That's my read based off watching the tape. And final positive about Charbonnet, he's a guy whose eyes get bigger when you get to the end zone. When you're close to the end zone, he just starts going nuts trying to get there. He's running people over. He's pushing through the pile. He becomes a more intense runner when he gets close to the end zone. So you give him the ball in the red zone, he's going to make things happen. Now, the issues with Charbonnet are fairly clear. Leaves a lot to be desired on breakaway plays due to his low top speed. He just doesn't have the ability to separate from defenders in a foot race. So he will get caught from behind a lot, and he's going to end up with a lot of 15 to 20 yard runs that you look at and feel like, how is that not a 60-yard run? Sometimes, although not always, I do think he's indecisive at the line of scrimmage waiting for something to happen, and this could be a problem in short yardage when he just needs to go so we can get the 3 yards to keep the chains moving, which is something that we had a bit of a problem with K9 last year. I do think Charbonnet will have that problem at least at first. He is a guy who runs standing straight up. He's a very upright runner, which that's, even though he's so good at running through tacklers, when you do that, you present a big target for defenders to hit, and you do sometimes go down easier than you needed to. I don't know if that's something he can really get better at, but he is a very upright runner, and I do think that limits his effectiveness at times. He doesn't have the route running prowess to line up as a wide receiver. He can be a pass catching back, but only out of the backfield in my estimation. I do think the Chip Kelly offense was a big boon for him. And then, yeah, I already discussed the pass protecting thing. Again, I don't think it's going to be bad with him. I don't. But I do think that traditional pass blocking snaps, the kind where you're in the backfield, QB takes the snap, and you're looking for the blitzer, and then you go block the blitzer, he just didn't do it that much the last 2 years. So hard to feel great about his ability to do it right now in the NFL. I do think it can be learned. I do think that he's big and strong and dense enough to be able to block effectively. It's a mindset thing more than anything, but as of right now, he might be a little out of practice. We'll have to see. All right, so I watched a couple of games from Charbonnet. Again, he's a pretty simple player to understand. I watched his game at Oregon, where he had a $151 and a touchdown and 4 catches for 28 yards. He made a catch in the flats on 3rd and 2 with a rub route, just a simple play where he starts in the backfield, runs out to the flat, catches, turns upfield, gets some yards. There was a nice play where he caught a dump off after a play action and then spun off an immediate tackle to make sure he got the first down. I saw a really nice pass block rep off a play action, which actually created the opportunity for DTR to run for a good gain. He had a nice move to the outside on a stretch play as well. You can see the vision of Zach Charbonnet on plays like that, where he understands where he needs to be and when he needs to be there, and then he's able to use his not tremendous speed, but decent enough speed to make sure he's there at the right time. Most of his routes out of the backfield are basically always he just goes to the flats, so he's not a threat as a pass catcher so much as he is a safety valve, but he's a capable safety valve, and he's going to turn some of those safety valve catches into bigger plays because he runs through tacklers so well. I do see the ability to push through traffic from him sometimes. It's not always there, but it makes me believe that if he can run with a little more confidence and sureness, he will develop into being a good short yardage back. I'm hoping that that is the case because that's what we need. He always seems to fall forward. He always seems to pick up extra yards. He always seems to have one last cut he can utilize to make sure he gets at least a couple more yards. So even though he's an upright runner, I do think he's really reliable in that area. Now, one thing to note, and this is kind of key for us because we also got Kenny McIntosh in the draft. Even though Charbonnet is a good receiver, UCLA frequently utilized their backup running back as a third down back. There was one back, I can't remember his name, on UCLA that year that they just felt like was a little more dangerous as a receiver, even though Charbonnet was reliable. And you do see a lot of third down snaps where they bring in their backup. So what does that say? It says that Charbonnet can play on third down. He's not necessarily a traditional third down back in the way that Kenny McIntosh is a more traditional third down back because of his versatility, but Charbonnet can play on third down. So it makes you wonder, how exactly are we going to use Charbonnet and McIntosh? Always seems to fall forward to make sure he gets something on plays, which encouraging to me. He's a great safety valve on passing plays when nothing develops downfield. That's how UCLA used him a lot. Flashes of a great short yardage back are here despite overall picture. I did see one rep in this game where he blew a pass block rep, creating pressure on the quarterback. He had a lead blocking rep for a designed QB run, which pretty good, pretty solid. He showcased his balance on a stretch play to the sideline to maximize yards. He's not somebody who's ever going to leave yards on the table. He's always looking to even if he has to run somebody over, he's going to go get extra yards out of every play. He showcased excellent vision on his long breakaway run late in this game to cut at the right time to maximize his opportunity on a particular play. There was a fourth down play where he whiffed on a blitz pickup, just completely missed. And it's stuff like that that makes me a little bit nervous about what his role is going to be in this offense and how much he'll be able to really be that third down passing down back. But you see the cuts, you see the power through defensive back tackles. And late in the game was pretty close to being over, but he had a carry on a 3rd and 1 where he made a really nice cut in a difficult situation to keep the game alive by picking up the necessary yardage. So good game from him, of course, very productive. UCLA lost this game, but it was a good showing from Charbonnet. The other game I wanted to watch was against Utah, where he had almost 200 yards and a touchdown. This is probably one of the best games he played for UCLA. Early on, they actually ran an option play where Zach actually took the pitch from DTR. Kind of interesting. I don't know if we're going to do any of that at the NFL level. It looks a little bit weird. I kind of hope not, but nice to see some versatility from him. Impressive burst and power showed on runs up the gut. I think that he will develop into being a really good short yardage back. He's just going to need some time. He's decisive and firm on short yardage situations to get yards, rips through tacklers after building up momentum on breakaway runs. It's kind of the same stuff you see with him. He's a pretty simple guy to understand. He likes to run through people. He runs with a lot of power. He has great vision. He makes good cuts. He's a smart running back. You kind of see the same stuff over and over when you watch him, but it's always pretty good stuff. There was one rep he had where he used like chop steps and deceptive feet to make a tackler miss without even juking. He just kind of sold he was going one way and then just kept going straight and the defender missed. He had a stiff arm in the red zone to get extra yards. Didn't see a lot of stiff arming from him, but there was one play where he busted it out. He had a really nice blitz pickup on a play action, and again, that's what I saw from him a lot watching these games. He pretends to take the ball on play action. There's an unaccounted for defender in front of him who was watching to see if he would get the ball, and he would just go block him. I think, I can't be sure, but I think PFF does not count those plays as pass block plays, but they pretty much are. He had a nice blitz pickup. Okay, I'm sorry, I already said that. I will say this. You watch UCLA give the ball to Charbonnet, and then you watch them give the ball to the backup. I can't remember what the backup's name was, like I said, but you can see that backup running back can just run faster. It's noticeable. Admittedly, it is noticeable. So you're going to see plays this year where K9 gets the ball and he takes off, and then you're going to see Charbonnet get the ball in a similar situation. And it's just going to be such a stark difference between the two backs in terms of speed. So be prepared for that. He had a good blitz pickup on a 3rd and 8 touchdown throw in the red zone. It was a really important one, too, for them to actually get that score. He had a 1-yard touchdown run later in the game where he did a really good job getting low and winning you could call it the leverage battle, which is something that I think he will struggle with, so it was great to see that. And just overall, as the game went on, he just continued to show really good vision, really good patience, just really, really cool stuff from Zach Charbonnet. But, again, I think he's just one of those players that is pretty simple to understand. So the notes that you have watching him play are mostly just kind of the same thing over and over again because he's doing the same stuff over and over again. All right, so I think that's really all we can say about Charbonnet. That's my rundown of him. I like this player a lot, but I will acknowledge that I probably like him more than I should because he was one of the guys that I watched a lot the last couple years because he was in my conference as a Huskies fan, and there was just something that made me gravitate towards him as a running back. So let me know what you guys think of him down below, but that's what I can say about Mr. Charbonnet. Now we're moving on to day 3 picks. Tomorrow we're going to go on to Anthony Bradford. See you guys then.